Rabbi Gopin spoke beautifully before, and he said that the story of Teves started, at least what we saw, in Tafshin Memhei. The truth of the matter is that the story of Teves started Yud Shvat Tafshin Yud. And I told this story once before, so I'll mention it just to give some background. Rabbi Greenberg was here, B'shas I mentioned it last time. Because when I spoke one of the times by Teves, I asked my father to share with me something that I had not known yet. And he said that Mamish, in the first year, the Rebbe called in 3 of the Elter Chassidim. And the purpose of their meeting with the Rebbe was to intervene to make sure that the library, which was the library of Agudas Chabad, that was maintained by the Frierdiker Rebbe, should be transmitted and transferred to the Rebbe as part of the Nesias. And they went where they had to go to negotiate, which was upstairs in 770. Upstairs means not the Zal, but all the way upstairs. And they came back with a key. And the message to them was that the Rebbe is a Yiddish like everyone else in the family, and everyone will have a key, and he'll have a key as well. And the Rebbe was very upset about this, and the ka'ev, the pain, was very, very deep. And the Rebbe wasn't happy with the fact that they didn't fulfill the shlichus. And he told them the following, that kol zman der inyan von dem Bibliothek is nicht mesuder, felt in the shleimus von der Rabisteve. In English, it means that as long as the issue of the library is not arranged, so chas v'shalem, there is something a void in the Rabisteve. What do we learn from this? We learn from this that the inyan of Teves wasn't about Sfarim. The Sfarim was the conduit through which it expressed itself. This was a challenge to the Nesias of the Rebbe. Now, you have to understand that in the Welt, they couldn't understand the whole concept. Because until then, the Seder was that if someone accumulated books, someone accumulated manuscripts, they would give it over to the Yarshim. There's in fact an interesting tshuva from the Tzemach Tzedek, B'ksav Yad, B'negei Adin of Teves Hano, and it had to do with the ksavim of the Alter Rebbe, that it was given over to the Yarshim, and there was some that wanted to have certain ksavim, and whether the one that was the executor can have a Teves Hano from that. The Chiddush by the Frierdiker Rebbe was that the library wasn't a personal library, it was a Agudas Chabad. The issue over here was B'negeya to the Deir HaShvi. It was a challenge to the Deir HaShvi. It was a challenge to the Nesias of the Deir HaShvi. The only difference was that until Tafshin Memhei, the inyan was really Behelim. Only those that were very close knew about it or understood the pain. But once the line was crossed, and Sfarim were actually being stolen, and as the librarians noticed, as books were missing, so that was crossing the line. So then the Rebbe said that he had no choice but to take the war and bring it into the public. Now, Rabbi Gopin explained about the pain that the Rebbe felt, and it's not something that we enjoy talking about, because it's very difficult to see the Rebbe in pain. It was very difficult to hear the sichos that the Rebbe spoke. It was very difficult to hear the way the Rebbe talked his heart out to Anash and Chassidim and Shluchim by the Farbrengens. It was something, I remember a story that happened in Toshen Chavtes. I'm only giving it as a dugma. Toshen Chavtes, Parshas Vayikra, was Rish Chedesh. And the Seder in those days was that they didn't know beforehand if there will be a Farbrengen unless it was Shabbos M'varchim or Yom the Pagra. So the Seder was that when the Rebbe would come in to 7:70 in the morning, Shabbos morning, Harav Shalom Yisrael Chodikov Zol Gesundsein would stand in the America's office with the door open. And the Rebbe would come in, and if the Rebbe looked at him and called him over, we knew that this was Farbrengen because the Rebbe would tell him the Rashi, which Rashi he's going to speak on. But if the Rebbe didn't look at him and the Rebbe walked straight to his room, it was assuming there's no Farbrengen. That Shabbos morning, my brother Mendy and I used to stand in the America's office together with Shalom Yisrael. The Rebbe came and did not turn around at all, walked straight to his room. So it was assuming there was no Farbrengen. Somebody tried to play a spitzel and went over to Rab Zalman Duchman Olav Shalom and told him that the Rebbe said that there's a Farbrengen and the Rashi is V'zayin Vayikra Beis Hey. So when the Rebbe walked in to the Beis Medrash, he made the announcement, Zalman Duchman, Heint V'zayin a Farbrengen. Und der Rebbe wird reden auf der Rashi Vayikra Beis Hey. The Rebbe turned around and was not happy, and he put his hand on the Aron Kodesh. Then he went to his stender and he put his sitter down, and he turned around and he said, Wer hat gesagt, dass Heint wird sein auf Farbrengen? I don't want to describe what happened after that. Absalom Duchman ran over and he said, Abacher. The Rebbe said, Wer ist Abacher? The Rebbe at first did not want to let the Hoidu, the Chazan start Hoidu, until they know. To tell you the discomfort that the Elam felt that the Rebbe was an Akmas Nefesh and that someone played the Spitzel is indescribable. The Shabbos after that, Parshas Tzav, and if you look in the Hanoch and Teves Menachem, you will see that the Rebbe makes reference to that event. And the Rebbe started to say, Ke'ilu bihisnatzlus. Why was he breges on that Shabbos benegeta that Rashi, and actually the Rebbe spoke about the Rashi. But when the Rebbe started to say those words, why he was breges, there were a lot of people in the Elam that Pasha started to cry. Mit gechlipet. The Rebbe darf reden auf azelchene Werte, the Rebbe should speak such words, and to be in pain about something that one of Anash did, the Elam couldn't be savelit. So the reaction is amid geweint. When it came to Tafshin Mem Hey, with the issue of the Sfarim, the pain was so deep, and for whatever reason, the Rebbe decided to be Meshatef the Elam, which, as Rabbi Gopin said before, that's one of the characteristics of Deir Shvi. And as he explained very well, that Deir Shvi, in the first Maimer that the Rebbe spoke, in the Nesias, Basi Legani, he says the Inyan for the Deir Shvi is L'chol echad va'achas, und das mont men von jeden einem von uns. So b'meile, the whole Inyan of the Deir Shvi, since this was a challenge on the Rebbe, which means that it was a challenge on the Deir Shvi, the Rebbe is the Reish Hador. So b'meile, the Nosio HaKel, it was a challenge for everyone. So it was a very, very painful period. For that reason, when Hey Teves happened and there was the court case, so when there was the verdict that came out from the non-Jewish judge, Judge Sifton, the reaction was spontaneous. It wasn't like the Gehat Hanasife, wir wird geht jetzt tanzen, und wir wird jetzt gehen hulen. The natural reaction was, Medaf tanzen, it's indescribable. Everybody left where they were, whether they were in New York, shluchim that were on shlichus. I was on shlichus at that time. When I got the call that there was the verdict, I ran to the airport to get a ticket and come to 770. Where else are you going to be? And we're talking tanzt a ganze Nacht, a ganze Woche. I'm going to go into that. So the Nekuda over here is that Hey Teves is not a yontif about Sfarim, even though people refer to it as Chag HaSfarim. It's not a yontif that there was a bad person and there was Didan Notzach. There was a kitrug here on the entire Deir Shvi, on the Rebbe himself. And even though it expressed itself, begashmias, through lawyers and chassidim that were working in court with documents and letters, but the Rebbe referred to Yutas Kislev numerous times during the Mishpat that it was similar to the challenge of Yutas Kislev. I want to finish with one other thing, and that was that we know that the year after that on Shabbos Hey Teves, the Rebbe spoke about Hey Teves was mitzkeveh event, that it's a chag, Eis Rotzen, a Yom Segula. But then came the day that the Sfarim actually came back. And there was a discussion amongst a lot of shluchim to make a very big parade and it was during the Kinos HaShluchim, it was Beis Kislev, to make a very big parade and make a very big deal and to have helicopters and a zevaiter. And I remember some of them called my father early in the morning to ask him that he should ask the Rebbe if it's okay. And my father called back and said that the Rebbe wants that it should be totally betzina. Does not want any celebration, doesn't want anyone there. And we all know what happened when the Rebbe came out, he was going to the oil and there were people standing around, v'chulu, v'chulu. L'poel, when the Sfarim came back, there was a private simcha. Rabbi Shem Tov was there, Rabbi Chodakov, Rabbi Krinsky, Rabbi Berel Yunik, and they put it into my father's office. I just want to explain one little thing about my father's office, since I have the podium so I can speak about it. There was a time that the telephone in the Merkaz office and in the Rebbe's room wasn't working well. And the Rebbe wanted to speak to Rabbi Chodakov, or he wanted to speak to the Maskirus, he would buzz. It was a buzz, and it was a unique buzz that you knew that when that buzz comes through, everybody becomes quiet, and the Maskir picks up the phone and speaks to the Rebbe. But it wasn't working. So the Rebbe started to buzz his door. And people heard the buzzing of the door. In fact, one time I heard that the Rebbe actually walked into the Merkaz office and asked for was entfert mir nicht. L'peil, they brought in technicians, they fixed it. And then the Rebbe told my father, zwischen Zeit, du sollst sitzen leben mein Zimmer. Weil ich nicht darf gehen suchen oder rufen. That's when he moved over there. And b'didi have a uvda, when I would come in for Kinos HaShluchim, and my father was there early in the morning, that when the Rebbe would come out from his room to walk there, it was late, it was also the sukkah, and it was back and forth. So it was a very safe place. But mainly when the Sfarim were coming back, that's where they put the Sfarim. And mit Gehat L'chaim, the Rebbe was still at the oil, and mit Gangen Atensel, Rabbi Chodakov was there, as I said before. Now, this part, I don't know how many know. The Rebbe then wanted Mazolab Drukanene for the Sfarim, and the Rebbe spoke Shabbos Zayin Kislev Tismach, a Sicha on the Derech Hamuna, and it's Muge. Motzah Shabbos, after Maidiv, the Rebbe had to go home. When the Rebbe goes out of his room, instead of going home, he walks towards the office, my father's office, where all the Sfarim are there. My father was there, and Rabbi Benjamin Klein, Onogeshet, Rabbi Yudel Krinsky, Zolhov Nadichas Yom Vishonim Teves, was there as well. And the Rebbe started to look in the Kestlach of the Sfarim, and having a whole conversation, this Sefer and that Sefer. And then my father asked the Rebbe, Vul Zomelegen the Sfarim. Because if you remember all the answers that Bet 11 got until then, it was only Shmishin, the Tzvei libraries. And the Rebbe said, Zoslegen by Mirin library. So that was, as far as I know, the first time that it was the actual statement that these Sfarim, now it's all one. It's all by the Rebbe, that the Rebbe accepted it. Agav, Rabbi Shem Tov was standing outside, and my father came out and he told my brother the story, and he went over to Rabbi Shem Tov at the Genum Tanzen. That was Rabbi Shem Tov's reaction, and he said these words, "This is it." And speaking about Rabbi Shem Tov, I want to say one more thing. Mit Geret Hein Banach Detlachamol Mai Chaneke. Mai Hey Teves. Rabbi Shem Tov says, the Gemara fragt Mai Chaneke because the Gemara was written 600 years after the story of Chanukah. But Chabad Chassidim in our generation should even utter the words, Mai Hey Teves, is Leyal Aladas Afil Azalchen Everter. Midaf Leben mit Hey Teves jeden Tag, because this is our Yontiv. This is our Chag HaGeula. This is the day that brought the Shleimus in the Malchus of the Rebbe. L'chaim, l'chaim.